Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Today we're going to talk about, I hate to say this, the internal revolution, specifically the headlines to the internal revolution. I think as you watch TV, as you read news articles, probably you're not seeing some things that I'm about to point out. So we're going to talk about the internal revolution that could be happening right under your nose, and perhaps you're not seeing it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read some newspaper articles. We're going to kind of talk about how that really could, or maybe that's not, the internal revolution. Now, we have to start with what Dmitry told us. Dmitry was told the fall of America would start with an internal revolution, started by the communists. Some of the people would start fighting against the government. The government would be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and 2 other countries would attack and defeat America in one day. In 1 hour, so great riches will come to naught, Revelation 18 says. So the first headline we want to talk about comes from ABC, and it says, today marks the first year anniversary of the Mueller probe. Now, what's going on there? Obviously, the Democrats have trumped up this Mueller probe to come after Trump because they're trying to get a duly elected president out of office. Now, you think that's part of an internal revolution? If you were to go back 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, they would have been appalled, both sides, the Republicans and Democrats. If we could slide through time to 40, 50 years ago, they would have been shocked to think that this kind of a probe was taken against a duly elected president. But I'm saying if you look at today's headlines, if you listen to the news, to me it is jumping off the screen. It's jumping off out of the newspapers. It's jumping out of the headlines. We are in the internal revolution. And I'm going to say we're not even at this point, even in the beginning throes of it. We might be middle way through it. Matter of fact, I'm going to make some points here in just a minute that I think are going to startle you, just how close America might be to falling. I'm talking about how close we might be to Russia attacking us. Let's go on to the next headline. Avenatti. 2 more women claim Trump hush deals. Okay, now remember, Avenatti, that's the lawyer for Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels reportedly that Trump had an affair with this lady 10 years ago. She signed an agreement that she'd keep her mouth shut. She also signed an agreement that said that that the event never really happened. That is, if I've got my facts straight, and I think I have. So here we have the Democrats and this Avenatti that, again, is another group of people trying to take a duly elected president out of office. And forget for just a minute that his name is Trump. Forget about whether we like him or whether we don't like him. That's not, look, I'm not playing Democrat, Republican today. I'm trying to say there is an internal revolution. There are 2 groups of people that hate each other. And there's a lot of different groups. But maybe that's the way to say it. There's a lot of different groups in America that hate each other and that are angry at each other and are at each other's throats. Next headline. This is from the Maddow blog. You remember Rachel Maddow. I assume that's who was talking about. Immigration fight riles House Republicans in unexpected ways. See, the Democrats used to be friends with the Republicans. It used to be that they would go into the House and they would wrangle back and forth, or the Senate, they would wrangle back and forth. But then in the evenings or the weekends, they would come over and they would have cookouts and they would go out to movies and things like that together. They used to actually be friends. But I heard someone say that has not happened in some 10 years now. Republicans and Democrats have nothing whatsoever to do with each other on a personal basis. Internal revolution. Next headline. Senator Blumenthal. Trump can be indicted and isn't above the law. See, some groups are saying, oh, well, you can indict the president. Others are saying, oh, you can't indict the president. Again, For just a minute, let's put aside Democrats and Republicans. We have people, not just one group, not just one reason, not just one way, but there's several different groups, several different ways that are trying to remove a duly elected president from office. Next headline. Pharaoh. Cohen's bank records leaked after files disappeared. It used to be that people didn't leak things that weren't supposed to be leaked. But now they will stab each other in the back. They will lie. They will cheat. They will do anything they can to destroy the competition. Yeah, that's a good Christian nation. What does Revelation say about America? She's become a habitation of devils, the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Yeah, that's right. We have. On to the next headline. Senate panel breaks with how. Oh, by the way, I didn't just pick and choose here. I just pulled some of them out. I have taken very few out of here. In other words, these are just normal headlines you can find on almost any day. I'm saying we're in the internal revolution. Senate panel breaks with House on Russia interference. So the Senate and the House can't agree about whether there was really Russia interference in America. And, of course, Mueller's whole investigation was supposed to be to find out if there was Russian interference. But that's not really what they're trying to do. What they're really trying to do is remove a duly elected president. Again, aside from Democrat, Republican. It should not be that a group can, or would even try to, remove a duly elected president. And in the case of Trump, this started before he was even in office. Next headline. FBI kept 2016 investigation into Trump campaign secret. What? Since when did the number one cop in the world, really, and that is the top cop, the number one guy at the FBI, be so corrupt and so full of lies? And so what they're saying is the FBI was in cahoots under the table behind the curtains, again, to remove a duly elected president. So what have we covered here? 5 or 6 different things that's trying to remove a duly elected president. Now, in the middle of all this fussing and fighting, this next headline makes perfect sense. While it's not part of the internal revolution, it may very well be a consequence of it. Hawaii on red alert. Is a major volcanic eruption imminent? And I have to tell you this, that I'll tell you who called. Bree Keaton called me the other day, and she has a friend, and I tried to get the guy to come on. He wouldn't come on. Even though I said, well, you can remain anonymous, but she has a friend that is in the right place, and she says that this guy, she said, oh, Stan, he's a real brainiac, and he's got all of the inside volcanic information, and he is saying that the whole, the volcano, the big mountain up there, Kilauea, a large portion of it may be about ready to slide into the ocean. And she said, he says, if it does, it could send a tsunami up the west coast. In other words, when Americans fuss and fight, well, it's just like the innocent blood of Abel cried out from the ground. So when there's anger, when there's discord, when there's fighting, when there's killing, there's consequences. This may very well be one of the consequences. Let's go on to MSNBC. Some more headlines there. EU to Trump. Stop threatening us with tariffs. Yes, Trump is trying to get a level playing field for global trading. That's fine, and I think that's the right thing for him to do. But people in America don't like it. As a matter of fact, there's nothing that Trump can do that is going to be good in some people's eyes except either die or resign. In other words, they hate him, everything he does. To me, that shows the devil in him. Next headline. Giuliani. Mueller can't indict Trump. Okay, so one headline says you can indict Trump. One headline says you can't. Well, that's the point. I'm saying that America is angry at each other. We are in an internal revolution. We are fussing and fighting. In my 64 years on this planet, I have never seen it like this. I can remember back in, 78, when I first ran across Dimitri Duduman. Was that 84? I have to stop and think now. Anyway, when I first ran across it, let's put it this way, mid-80s, I thought, man, how in the world could there ever be an internal revolution in America? Yeah, well, here it is. Headline, House GOP on brink of forcing immigration debate. So one group says we don't want a wall. The other group says we want a wall. One group says we don't want immigration. The other group says we don't want any walls at all. Just come one, come all, come on in. One group wants to destroy this nation and build a world government, though they don't say that's their objective. And they don't say their objective is to destroy the nation. But if you look at Daniel chapter 2, I was just working on my memory of Daniel chapter 2 last night. And the whole Daniel chapter 2, and I'll be making probably a radio program on that in the next week. Matter of fact, my plan is to go through about probably once a week and bring a teaching on a different chapter within Daniel as I go through that. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. But the point is, Daniel chapter 2 leaves no question that there is going to be a world government. Since Nebuchadnezzar, there will be 4 world governments. That's what it says. And in the days of the 4th world government, that God will return, or Jesus will return, and he will put down all of the other governments, and he will form a new kingdom. That's the whole point of it. That's the objective of many people. And God puts it on their heart to do. It's not their idea to do this world government. It's his idea, and the whole point is to bring them down, to attack Jerusalem so he can destroy them. That's the way he gathers the tares. Matthew 13:30. Gather ye first the tares, bind them into bundles, and burn them. Then gather my wheat into the barn. So the way we would say that is, gather all of the sinners into one group, bind them together, and I'll burn them and I'll destroy them, and then I'll round up my people. Okay, next headline. Ex-president of Temple frat charged in rape case. Well, Stan, has that have anything to do with the internal revolution? What I'm saying is there's discord in America. It used to be in America that the men held the door open for the woman. It used to be that the woman always walked through the door first. And the woman always got to go up to the water fountain first. The woman always placed her order for the food at the table first. And there was chivalry. But on the other hand, it used to be that the women dressed modesty. And they tried to keep themselves modest. They didn't flaunt their curves in front of us. And I say that because, ladies, it's got to work both ways, okay? Yes. We men need to treat these ladies in a chivalrous fashion, like the golden gem that they are. But ladies, you need to act like the golden gem, okay? Not like you're in a gym, okay? You need to act like a lady. I can remember my mom constantly telling my sister, "Oh, act like a lady. Set up. Cross your legs." You know, in other words, the ladies tried to be ladies. What I'm saying is things are falling apart in America. And I'm going to say here in just a second, we might be a whole lot closer to this internal revolution than we really want to believe we might be. Okay, on to the next one. Late passenger attempts to break into plane. These days we have people running down the plane. I don't know if you heard this, another guy running down the plane naked. We have people pulling out guns and shooting each other in the schools and businesses and in airports. Crazy things. Again, she's become the habitation of devils, the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Are we there yet? Are we to the point? Have we fallen so far? Like it says in Revelation 18, Babylon is fallen, and become the habitation of devils, the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. And it certainly sounds to me like we're getting there. Next headline. Flood watches abound. Planes brace for storms. See, when a nation is righteous and holy, The Bible says that God causes the rain to come in due season. He keeps away the bugs. He causes the crops to grow. And the more we fall away, the more we're angry at each other and fussing, and the more filth, and the more... Matter of fact, let me tell you what just happened. This is a classic example. So the office calls me and says this guy wants to be interviewed. He wants to come on as a guest at the Prophecy Club. Says he wants to talk about conspiracies. Well, actually, I would be interested in having guests at the Prophecy Club. So if you know someone that wants to be a guest on the Prophecy Club, have them get in contact with the Prophecy Club. Matter of fact, my direct email is askstan@prophecyclub.com. Not complicated. askstan@prophecyclub.com. We're actually looking for guests. And he was going to talk on a conspiracy. Well, I had been interested in people to talk on conspiracy, and at that particular time, I was needing a broadcast for the day, and I thought, give him a call. I kind of got a check in my spirit before I called him. Nevertheless, I thought, all right, we'll give him a try. So he answered the phone, and he goes, yeah. Okay, he already got a little bit of a strike against him because in my heart, I'm not feeling good about this call. Then he answers the phone like that. I said, oh, okay, a couple of strikes, but I'm going to ignore that. I want to hear what the man says. So I introduced myself, and he went, oh. In other words, like he knew he'd made a mistake. In other words, not answer the phone professionally. Okay, yeah, it's fine. Maybe it's a cell phone. And anyway, let me tell you what happened. So he went on talking about these conspiracies, and he's kind of rambling on everything. But the second sentence out of his mouth, and there's a cuss word, those 4-letter words that starts with an S, that's the word he said. And all of a sudden, that's a big red flag. See, because if we're a Christian, then we ought to walk like a Christian. We ought to talk like Jesus. We ought to act like Jesus. Okay, fine. We all make mistakes. I understand that. But our objective should be to walk and talk and act like Jesus to the very best of our ability. Now, when he is talking to a minister about coming on a Christian radio program, do you think that's the time to let a bad word slip out of his mouth? I don't think he knew it slipped out of his mouth. And so to me, he was done. I don't care who he is. He's not getting on a radio program, but I didn't want to be offensive, so I let him go on and talk. And he talked, and he was rambling here and rambling there and rambling there. And finally I said, okay, have you done much research? Oh, yeah, I've done a lot of research. I said, well, have you written a book on it? Well, I'm in the process. And I thought, okay, I don't get a really good feeling about this guy at all. And then with that word slipping out, I think I'll pass. I thought, but I want to be gracious and kind to exit this conversation. So I said, well, I'll tell you what, why don't you get back in contact with me when you've completed your book? Okay, that's a good excuse, okay? Because probably he won't get back in contact with me. Probably he won't write a book, and even if he did, I would give him another chance. I said I'd give him another chance. I'd give him another chance. So then I hung up. Well, about 15 minutes later, he called back. And he says, I just have a question. I want to know, are you not wanting to interview me because you're actually one of the elite, probably one of these Masons that doesn't believe in all of this stuff? And I thought, oh, you should have done your homework. You should have known. You should have known who I am and not to ask that question. I said, so you want to know why I didn't agree to an interview? He said, yes. I said, okay, here's why. I said, because we're a Christian ministry. As a guest on our program, you should know that you should be a Christian. And you let a cuss word slip out of your mouth the second sentence in our conversation. And he laughed. I interrupted his laugh. And I said, you laughed. And he laughed again. He said, well, Jesus cussed. And I thought, oh. See, there's several things he did that's wrong there, but we're not talking about how to be a guest on the Prophecy Club. What we're doing is trying to say is here's a guy that thinks himself a Christian, but a cuss word slips out of his mouth. He doesn't even realize a cuss word slips out of his mouth. And by the way, when I said, you laughed, he laughed again. And I said, no, what you should have said was, I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry. Please forgive me. And I would have said, you're forgiven. Instead, he laughed, like, I can't believe you're even calling my attention to the fact that I let a cuss word come out of my mouth, as in cussing is just fine. Well, look, folks, I play racquetball, and there's a lot of times where things don't go right on the racquetball court. I do not cuss. Now, I will growl. That's as close as I get to cussing. I go, make a wrong move or slip or something. Hit a bad shot, But see, as a Christian, someone asked me the other day something, that I can't remember what the question was, but I can tell you, I don't have to ask what the question is because they always get the same answer. I said, no, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't cuss. And I'll also add, I don't lie. Now, that's not being, how do I say this? That's not trying to make myself important, brothers and sisters. What I'm trying to say is that's the way we're all supposed to be. I'm not trying to lift myself up. I'm trying to say that everybody else is falling on their face. And I say everybody else because it seems like everybody I'm out there around in the world with, that's the way they talk, that's the way they cuss, and that's the way they act, and they cuss, and they don't even know cuss words are coming out of their mouth. Again, I play racquetball, so I'm out around some of these other guys, and, playing racquetball, they get frustrated, and some cuss more than others. But what I'm saying is, as a Christian, we don't do that. We just don't do that. Now, back to our headlines. Now, let me go on to talk about the timing. I said, we want to believe that this whole Russian attack on America, we want to believe that that's 10, 15, maybe even 20 years off, and I want to believe it, and I have some reasons for believing it. But at the same time, I don't have any audible voice that said, well, Stan, you can tell the people, I guarantee you I'm not going to use Russia to attack America in the next 15 years. We don't have that guarantee. So let me point out a couple of things. One is America made a covenant with God on November the 11th of 1620. And that was the Mayflower Compact, where in that compact, Google it, look it up, and it says we're forming a new nation for the furtherance of the Christian faith, unquote. That was 1620. Now, assuming that God gave America 400 years, as he gave to Israel in their bondage down in Egypt, assuming it's 400 years, and I'll have to tell you that story in just a second. Assuming it's 400 years, well, that means 1620 add 400 years, that comes up to 2020. Maybe it's nothing. But now let me tell you about it. Very strange. One night, I kind of heard this, and I've talked about it before, I kind of heard this in my spirit, and it kept saying very, very softly, and it was like it was a long way off, and it kept saying, 400 years. And then it waited a while, and then 400 years. Waited a while, and then 400. And I said it several times before I kind of woke up enough to, in my sleep, answer it. And I said, what, 400 years? What, from Columbus sailed the ocean blue? Let's say it was 1492, 400 years that already happened, back to sleep. And then I heard, no, from when I agreed to have a covenant with her. You had a covenant. Oh, I got it. The Mayflower Covenant. Okay, Mayflower Covenant is 1620, add 400 years, that's 2020. No, that won't work because Dmitri was given the warning to America in 1984, add 40 years, that doesn't line up, back to sleep. Then I heard, you have 4 more years to carry Bibles. You have 4 more years to carry Bibles. You have 4 more years to carry Bibles. You see, when the angel approached him and told him he was going to America, and he said, you have 4 more years to carry Bible, that was 1984. But apparently he had talked to him in 1980 and made the decision to destroy America in 1980. So if you add 40 years to that, it comes up to 2020. My point is, we have 2 dates. 400 years from the Mayflower Compact concludes at 2020. 40 years from the time God spoke judgment on America concludes at 2020. So brothers and sisters, here we are at halfway through 2018. So what I'm trying to get a point to you is that we could be as early as only 18 months away from a Russian attack on America. Now, let's look at that. How's Russia feeling about us? Well, I don't think they feel very, very good because we've had all of this Russia stuff over the election, and then Trump has increased a lot of sanctions on them. We have not been kind to the Russians. They've kicked out diplomats. We've kicked out diplomats. And so I think there's a real argument. There's a real frustration with the Russians. I want to think that they're not ready to attack. However, a couple of more things let's point out. You remember Michael Boldea was shown 3 snake bites, and the first bite was 9/11, 2001. The second one's going to be much worse, and the third one is the Russian attack or the fall of America. Well, it's been since 2001, so it's been like 17 years since we've had the first snake bite. So the next one is due. That's my point. We have many angry people in America on both sides, both good and bad. Both blacks are against the whites. The fake news is against Fox News. Trump is against the 9th Judicial District. The immigrants to the sanctuary cities on one side, and the people that say no, build that wall on the other one. Then we have the Trump haters, and we have the Trump lovers. Then we have the Democrats and how they used to be friends with the Republicans. They used to go out to dinner with them and have barbecues and stuff on the weekend stuff. Now they don't anymore. Our fast track team is praying that God will give us 15 more years. But there's no guarantee on that. What is a guarantee is that, let me just say, as far as the 1620 and the 400 years, the 1980 and the 40 years, I'm not saying that America falls in 2020, but here's something I will say. I think that God's hand of protection, guaranteeing us as a nation, will come off sometime in 2020. And now, how long we make after that, that may be up to us. What I am saying is, we need your help. Prophecy Club, America needs your help. Look, how many people are willing to say what I just said? Answer, almost nobody. Why? Because they know that Americans don't want to hear that. And they know that if you don't tell them what they want to hear, then they'll take their money elsewhere. They know that, look, if you don't tell me what the latest news is, if you don't inform me, then I'm not going to send you any money. And that is the truth as evidenced by our bank account. Now, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I have it all wrong. But I believe following God, doing the right thing is more important than money. So, as you have noticed, I don't back off. I try to say it kindly, but I continue to say that America is on the slide. So if you believe in America, you believe in this message, would you pray for, but also would you send a financial gift to Prophecy Club? Now here's the way it works. We're coming up on vacation time. We're coming up on what we call the summer slump. Apparently it's already hit because our mailbox has gone flat. Summer slump is when people spend their money on vacations rather than their ministries. Now, I'm not attacking anybody. I'm only saying it's okay to take a vacation. Brothers and sisters, we're one of the only voices out there that will continue to tell people the truth, whether they send their donations or not. So if you believe in what we're doing, then we ask you to support it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your gifts of support. God bless. Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. The Watchman's Trumpet will allow you to gift free coupons to friends to watch Prophecy Club DVDs online. They get saved, and it counts toward your book of works because it was done in cooperation with the Prophecy Club. When you donate for Watchman's Trumpet, end your gift in a 7, and we'll give you 20% extra viewing credits for helping create the program. The cost to write the program ranges from $70,000 to $150,000 from 2 to 6 months to write. Once Watchman's Trumpet is online, you can set up your account for $1 and get 4 credits, or you may choose a larger block of credits. You can immediately begin to watch any Prophecy Club DVD or send out free gift coupons to others. Send your best gift to prophecyclub.com now to help us write the program. Make the last digit of your donation a 7, and we'll give you 20% extra viewing credits in the new Watchman's Trumpet program when it comes online. At prophecyclub.com. prophecyclub.com, Watchman's Trumpet.